Is time travel in anime lazy? Time travel was once a plot device that was targeted at a more niche audience, but became popular with the critically acclaimed title of 2011, Steins Gate, and is now coming more and more into fashion with two shows airing directly after each other that use it heavily, that being Erased and ReZero, the two anime I'll mainly be covering in this video. Now, before you start disliking this video because the title implies that this specific plot device or subgenre of anime, if you'd rather call it that, is something that is used to be lazy, then I'd like to say right here and right now that I love time travel as an entire concept. Steins Gate does it extremely well and deserves all the credit it gets. With cleverly written and likeable characters, a story that picks up at just the right moments and is just generally nearly impossible to not get invested into, it's easy for me to call it one of, if not my favourite anime of all time. Although that would probably go to Evangelion. Sorry, Steins Gate. Unfortunately, however, this is often not the only easy thing about the time travel subgenre. Brilliant segue. Despite me being on the time travel bandwagon, having liked Erased and starting to get into ReZero, there is something to be said about the way that they use time travel in these anime, and that it is essentially using it to specifically make a main character, or even a whole cast of characters, completely invincible without making them completely unrealistically flawless and unbeatable. Because the mere fact that time travel is prevalent and important to these characters means they make mistakes. Flawlessness is not something we as an audience tend to like seeing in characters, so it's easy to see why writers might want to do this. Examples such as One Punch Man can get away with it due to exploiting extremely down-to-earth flaws with being flawless itself, and even by not having a hugely prevalent storyline. This is something that fantasy and sci-fi genres can't really get away with, because if they tried this, their character turns out poorly written and an audience would have trouble finding any sympathy with them. See Sword Art Online. The thing is, Erased and ReZero seem to fall into the trap of using time travel simply as a get-out-of-jail-free card, which, when looked at it from a critical point of view and taking out any sort of investment I have in these characters, does make it seem rather lazy. It's almost as if the writer's saying, look, our character is well written, having both strengths and weaknesses, and you should totally be able to feel sympathy for them. Oh, but they can't die, because time travel. See, the reason I know this can be done well is because Steins Gate completely avoids this problem. This is because the characters can't just use time travel whenever they're about to die, and because often the use of time travel will result in worse outcomes. Finding a way to get around this is an essential part of the plotline. Unfortunately, I'm worried as the plot device becomes more popular, it's going to be exploited and used more for mere laziness to keep characters alive, not using any of the elements that made it good in works such as Steins Gate. Now, as I said previously, I don't think Erased or ReZero are bad, and I think they do actually somewhat use these elements, and that definitely helps my investment. However, I can't help but feel sometimes that it's lazy and that basically these characters are invincible because they have the power of time travel, and that definitely at least slightly dampers my opinions on the two shows. I don't think that it's exploited enough for these shows to be straight out bad, and their settings, characters and story easily makes up for it, but I am afraid that this may not be the case in future shows, as time travel is bound to be used on a multitude of different shows until it's sucked dry. We'll just have to see whether ReZero continues to use its subgenre of time travel at least somewhat wisely, and if not, I'll be extremely disappointed. Other than that, we can only hope anime in the future doesn't ruin what is essentially a very clever and unique plot device. What are your thoughts on time travel in anime? Tell me in the comments and I'll read them out next episode. Until next time, this has been Baldon. I'll see you next time.